This setup behind me, it's my third, this time absolutely final simulator setup. If you ever built a sim rig, you know what I'm talking about. Today I want to talk to you about one decision you'll make if you don't want to use VR but still want more immersive experience. Projectors or triple screens. I've used both. I started with triple 42-inch curved monitors, then went all in on a double projector 180-degree curved screen setup, and finally I downgraded, or at least that's what it felt like at the time, back to triple screens, except now they're 75-inch TVs, which is what you see behind me right now. In this video, I'm going to walk you through my real-world experience with both setups, what I love, what I have issues with, and why I ended up where I'm today. Hopefully, by the end, you'll have a better idea of which setup makes sense for you. And yes, before anyone asks, why not VR? I have already covered that in a separate video, link is in the comments. But short version, I have nothing against VR, but huge part of my hobby is building the setup itself, not just flying in it. I'll try some mixed reality setups someday, once I get my hands on a good setup. Okay, let's break this down category by category. Let's start with the big one, immersion. And it's clear, projectors win here. A curved projection surface wrapping around your field of view is on another level. When it's properly set up, the sense of scale is incredible. Now, that said, I personally never had huge issues with bezels, even on my old triple 32-inch setup. I know that's borderline heresy in the sim community, but for me, my brain just kind of ignored them after a while. They're still so much smaller than A-pillars on any modern car. I constantly get comments telling me to add bezel-free kits, and yeah, they help and I might try it someday, but they're not magic. In the end, immersion is very personal, and some people couldn't live with the bezels, some can. What actually surprised me most was this. When I switched from the curved projector setup back to the flat 70-inch screens, I expected immersion to take a massive hit, but for me it didn't. Sure, the curve was gone, but the sheer size of displays made up for a lot of that. The experience was still amazing. So yes, projectors are better for immersion, but I'm not going to underestimate the screens anymore. Image quality is much less subjective topic. Screens win easily. With projectors, especially on curved surfaces, you're always losing pixels due to warping and blending. Even with good software, you're sacrificing sharpness somewhere. Screens, on the other hand, give you exactly what the panel is capable of delivering. No geometric corrections, no edge blending artifacts, no soft spots. Contrast is another big factor. Screens will always have better contrast than projectors. You can improve the projector contrast with proper projection surface paint and a dark room, and that definitely helps, but you're still fighting physics at this point. If crisp instruments, readable text, and deep blacks matter to you, screens are a safer bet. On the other hand, if your instruments are on separate screen, you have hidden the cockpit, and you're flying around in a game like DCS, this doesn't matter that much. Compatibility is where what you play matters. I can talk a bit about flight and space simulators, but I would expect this to be the same with sim racing. Curved projection setups only really work properly with a small number of games. DCS is a good example. It handles projector setups really well, but many other games just don't. On the other hand, modern flight simulators like Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 support multi-screen setups right out of the box, at least almost. No hacks, no weird camera tricks, just plug in 3 displays, go to setups and go. In general, triple screens are better supported across more games, especially if you're not exclusively flying in one specific sim. But if you have certain games in mind, check the compatibility. Setting up is perhaps where the romance of projectors starts fading. Setting up screens is relatively straightforward. Mount them, align them, adjust the angles, and you're done. And projectors, that's a whole different story. First, you need a curved projection surface. You can buy one, but they're expensive, and most people, myself included, end up building their own. Then comes the calibration. You'll need warping and blending software like Immersive Display Pro to get everything aligned properly. That's an extra cost, extra complexity, and extra time. And this isn't a up once and forget it kind of deal. Ease of use is where my opinion really shifted over time. If you don't have a rock-solid frame, and I mean rock-solid, you'll be calibrating your projectors more often than you'd like. In my case, the projectors were mounted on the ceiling of an old wooden house, and the wood basically moves. Temperature changes, humidity, everything causes tiny shifts. Around the time of filming, it got to nearly to minus 30 degrees of Celsius outside during night, and during summer it can get up to plus 40 degrees Celsius here. Tiny shifts are all it takes to break the alignment and introduce coasting. Eventually I realized that I was playing less, not because I didn't want to fly, but because I didn't feel like recalibrating everything again and again and again. With screens, you turn them on and that's it. No calibration anxiety, no did something move moment. Then the price. Projectors might sound cheaper at first, especially if you're going with 2 of them. Based on my experience, a proper setup really needs 3 projectors, so you don't end up with a seam right in the middle of your view. Also, depending on your space, you might need short row, or in my case, ultra short row projectors, which are also more expensive. For projector setup, you need the projectors themselves, a curved projection surface, and a warping and blending software, which alone can cost nearly 500 euros. By comparison, I paid about 700 euros each for my 75-inch 4K 60Hz TVs. Smaller ones you can get for much cheaper. Are they high refresh rate gaming monsters? No. I'm not under 20 esports professional with reflexes of a small squirrel. For a middle-aged space dad like me, they're good enough. And sure, you can spend absurd amount of money on TVs if you want really high refresh rates and better panels. The range is quite large. In a perfect world, my dream setup would probably be 3 massive curved displays, each with a 90-degree curve. But as far as I know, those don't exist. And if they do, they probably cost more than my car. I genuinely loved the immersion of my projector setup. When it worked, it was amazing. But my room was the problem. Small room, low ceiling, old wooden house. The constant recalibration slowly killed my motivation to actually use the setup. So I switched back to triple screen. Not because they're absolutely better in every way, but because they're much easier. And here's the key lesson I learned. The perfect setup is useless if you don't use it. My current setup might not be perfect, but it gets used. And that makes it a lot better setup for me. And it's still pretty epic. So, to summarize, projectors offer better immersion, especially with curved screen, but they're more complicated and demand a very stable frame. If you go this route, I strongly recommend 3 projectors and make sure they don't move at all. Triple screens are easier, more reliable and better supported, and way less hassle, especially if you got a life outside simming. For a father of 2 small kids, with a career, pets, limited time, triple screens brought the fun back into gaming for me. And if you enjoyed this video, stick around, because I have a new cockpit build coming up as soon as I get my CNC up and running. Thanks for watching and hope to see you next time.